Hey, what's going on? Doc Denny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast, and it's the end of the year. It's the end of 2025, and one of the things I love to do with this podcast is to sit down and really think through what I learned this year. And today my process was I went on a walk, I sat in my office, and really just did some journaling. And try to come up with what I thought were the most impactful things that I've learned this year. And these are mostly business, but business and personal, they overlap. So these are the 4 things that I took away from this year that are lessons learned that I hope I can share with you, and they'll help you, grow in these areas as well. Maybe not make the same mistakes, and just see that number one, like that. Doesn't matter how long you've been in business doing things, like we still make mistakes. I don't think that ever changes. I'm over a decade at this point into being, an entrepreneur, being self-employed, running multiple businesses, bigger teams, small teams. I've had experience in a number of different businesses, and this year, I would say the theme of this year has been, I guess, a little bit of frustration and missing the mark. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I mean by that as far as some of the things that I learned. But number one is, this is the first year that I've ever been a part of a business where we've actually had a revenue decline. And aside from when I ran our clinic during COVID. So that was different. The clinic was shut down for a number of weeks, and then it was obviously a very challenging time to run an in-person business in 2020. But other than that, I've never experienced that. So this is the first year where we've had that, and it wasn't a major drop in revenue by any means. It was fairly minor, but top line revenue was higher for our PT biz last year than it is this year. And I'm going to kind of talk to you a little about why. In retrospect, I think that happened. So when we went into 2025, we always plan on things that we want to do, as most business owners that are, pretty squared away business owners are going to do. And we usually have really important things that we want to focus on. Not necessarily, we have KPIs we track and things of that nature, right? So we'll say, okay, we need this number of clients, this number of calls, this number of things that we're going to, back into. Just like you would, we need this number of new patients, number of staff, this number of visits that we need to see in the year, as far as, hitting gross revenue goals. But one of the things that we thought, the hypothesis we had, was that if we could really lean into our brand, right? Really lean into sharing and professionalizing our brand, that would have a corresponding positive effect on the revenue of the business, right? So that's what we did. And it's something that we've wanted to do for a long time, really, lean more into professionalizing what we're doing visibly, and to work on projects that we felt were important for the profession. For instance, one of those big things for me is clinic tours. I really enjoy sharing the clinics of clients we get to work with and friends of ours that we get to highlight. I love that the profession gets to see that. It does take a lot of time, effort, energy, and money to be able to go and do those things. And it was a part of our essentially our brand and marketing strategy in 2025, a big part of it. And, not just that, but also leaning into professionalizing short form content, longer form content, YouTube, being able to be more visible on video as well, which in its own right is a lot of additional effort, a lot of additional time. And I think we did a really good job actually of professionalizing our brand, of making it more consistent, coherent, making it like really look the way that we feel our company should be represented. But on the corresponding, side of that, what we didn't do was continue to work on many of the fundamental things within our sales and marketing pipeline that got us where we are because of redistributing effort, energy, attention towards these other KPIs and these other projects. And we were wrong, at least as far as in the short term goes. As far as our KPIs go, it did not generate as many opportunities, as many potential clients, and as much brand trust as we thought that it would. We felt that it would also help share just how much great work we're doing and the people that we're working with. But if anything else, like it didn't help as much as we thought that it would. We were wrong. And it's funny because, as you plan your year out, you're not always going to be right. And you also can't necessarily look in the scope of just a year. We might be right, actually, in a couple years. And it's not like we're changing what we're doing. We just are refocusing on other things that are more KPI driven, specifically for the new acquisition of clients in the business. And that's what we got away from more, really focus more on engagement, growth of platforms than anything else. So, long term, over the next few years, is there anything that makes you think that a more professionalized brand decreases the likelihood that a company will have success? Probably not, but it may not be as impactful as we thought that it would actually be. And, this is actually a really important lesson that I think you can learn for your clinics as well. And this is I see this with people when they do big rebrands and, brand refreshes, or they think that, some, social media campaign or some ad strategy this one thing is going to really make, this huge difference and have this sort of domino effect. And oftentimes that's not actually what drives the business forward. What it usually tends to be is it's lots of little problems that you have to effectively deal with along the way. It's not like this silver bullet, right? It's not this one big thing. And I would say be careful, reallocating your time, attention, and resources on a big bet, something like what we did, when in actuality, the fundamental things, the things that work over and over and over again, you've got to stay on top of those as well, right? So if you're in a clinic, it's making sure that you are, a part of your local community. You have a presence there, that you are creating content and you're putting that out on a regular basis specific to the niche that you want to serve, that you are training your staff to have the correct conversations with people so that they can maintain a high plan of care conversion, training your staff on what they can do with people long term so that they can have a high lifetime value and help people long term with their health and wellness proactively. It's making sure that there's consistency in your product. And some of this is kind of the boring stuff, right? And that's somewhat where I felt, I'd focused my attention on in 2024 when we actually had the biggest growth year that we've seen that year. And, for me to express my creative outlet more didn't necessarily lead to the outcomes that we wanted on the business side as much as I enjoyed a lot of the things that we're doing. It's really a mixture of the two that is necessary. So don't forget about the fundamentals. Don't forget about the things you have to do on a regular basis that lead to the outcome that you want. But then also, it's totally fine, right? Even though this is the only time that we've ever seen a drop in revenue, aside from, like I said, the COVID year with our clinic, our business is in a fantastic spot. It's there's so many business owners that would switch places with me. We have an incredible business where we get to work with mission-driven people. We have a team that's just really sharp. Our culture is healthy. We enjoy working with one another. We have a team of professionals that trust one another, that do the work that they say they're going to do. I think we deliver things at a very high level. I think that, our brand reputation is that of people that are trustworthy, that have high integrity, that know what they're talking about, and that they help really build true clinical business owners in the profession and are changing the profession. And I'm very, very proud of our team. I think our team has done a fantastic job this year, just a wonderful job of working together. What it highlights is that, I still have room to grow as a leader. That never changes. It just highlights that the accuracy of the work, I talk about this a lot, like momentum is the effort you put in multiplied by the accuracy of the work that you're doing. And we put a lot of effort in, and our accuracy was off a little bit this year. And that's something that, it's frustrating because it's a lot of work regardless, right? You want to make sure you're working on the right things. So that comes down to accuracy of decision-making on the front end, at the beginning of the year, or reviewing things more quickly as far as like course direction change, which is exactly what happened. So basically, as we lean into this really in the first half of the year, that's where we took more of a step backwards. And then over the Q3, 4, we really course corrected in back where we want to be from a trajectory standpoint. But it took us 6 months to really ferret out what was going on and why we're not seeing the progress that we wanted to. So imagine 6 months of effort that wasn't really focused on the right things. That's where you lose momentum, right? So make sure that you're taking your time to really pick what you're focused on. And you need to understand, like, is it going to get you the outcome that you want? Because it might be something that you want to do and you enjoy doing, but it also might deter your ability to focus on the things that are going to drive the business forward. So incredibly proud of our team, not like irritated or unhappy. Like, I'm quite content. And I'll talk about that later, but just be careful. Make sure that you're focused on the right things and that you're planning the right things and that you're thinking about the outcomes that you want. And if the work that you're doing eventually gets you to that, spot in your business. So that's number one. All right. Number two, look, corporate cash-based PT clinics are coming. It's going to happen. Is it going to happen next year? I don't know. Maybe not. It's going to happen the next 3 years for sure. Now, here's what I see. You see regional, cash-based, maybe they're hybrid, I would kind of throw those in there as well, but a lot of cash services, similar sort of avatar that works with these businesses, more performance-based, service-based clinics. And you see regional ones that are developing, that are doing a great job. Great brands, great operators, very smart entrepreneurs. And they are, growing multiple clinics, maybe multiple states. And this is something that I actually didn't think was even possible 11 years ago, when we started Athletes Potential. But it's happening. They're doing a great job. And what is happening economically is we're starting to see interest rates are trending down. That means borrowing is going to be cheaper. And when you have businesses like this, the cost really is in the physical cost of getting places up and running. So your location, build outs, equipment, all that stuff, and then the operations of people. So early on, these clinics are actually kind of a drain on your cash flow, because it's not like you can just put up a website and then start making sales like in e-commerce, right? Like that you have to get a physical building. You have to actually have more space than you need to be able to hire people. And so you're essentially net negative for a while as you're building into the space that you need to be in. And for a lot of people that we work with, they start in a very small location and then they make a lateral transfer into a little bigger one and then maybe an even bigger one after that. So they kind of do it in a manner that is not as, it's not as resource heavy, it's not as cash heavy up front. But with true scale, what happens is these proven businesses will leverage money to open locations, having a very clear idea of how long it's going to take for them to get to break even or to profitability. And the financial backers, knowing that, are quite patient about it. They're going to invest millions of dollars to stand up, however many clinics, and not expect that they're going to be profitable day one, knowing that, being totally fine with that, because they have a lot of money to invest and they'll get their return over time in a very, very stable business. Now, The reason I think this is going to happen is, well, number one, I already see it happening. I see it happening, across the country with different brands, even in different regions, and that's usually how it works, right? If you look at what's happened with in-network physical therapy, it was far more fragmented for years, and then their consolidation starts to occur, within private equity money or individual backers or family offices or whatever. They just see an opportunity where a fragmented system, but also that these are healthy, profitable businesses and trending in a very positive direction, meaning a lot of people are looking to work with clinics like this. So when you see that, I'm not the only one that sees that. There's plenty of private equity firms out there that are actively, even looking to acquire cash-based physical therapy clinics that are of a certain size in a certain niche. So that's happening right now. And the only reason that's happening is because they see that there's an opportunity with a fragmented market to consolidate it and to basically, create a big increase in value for themselves, right? And with brands, if you have a proven brand and you have a financial backer that wants to back that, then they can scale much faster. So this is what's happening now, and I think you're going to see this over the next couple years in your area, and it's normal. It's normal to see that. I wouldn't freak out over it. I think it's just normal competition within a capitalistic environment, a free market. But what you have to realize is, you can't just, you can't be average as a business owner anymore. You just can't. Like, if you think that you can just be a great clinician and not understand how to run a business, you probably can get to a point where your schedule is busy and that's about it. If you try to scale past that, you're going to run into a lot of problems. Mainly, you're probably going to have a lot of turnover. You're going to lose a lot of money because you're going to, move into a bigger space, have no idea how to hire, retain, compensate people, how to scale your marketing past yourself, how to manage cash flow. These are all things that you must learn. And if you are a great clinician and you want to just be really small, a lifestyle business, there's nothing wrong with that either. I would actually recommend that you stay small if you have no desire whatsoever to learn how to be a business owner, because you're going to then be competing with people that are professionals. These are professionals that have systemized things, who have far better recruiting than you do, have far more resources than you do, can provide far better benefits to their staff and upward mobility than you can. So if you don't want to lean into being a great business owner, your best bet is just stay small, lean, and accept the fact that that's just where the business will cap out. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But if you do want to grow and compete, then you have to put your big boy, big girl pants on as a business owner and understand that the limiting factor for you is not going to be whether you can dry needle somebody's back or not. That is not it. That used to be special 10 years ago. I would have people who would come to me specifically because I was one of the few people that was doing dry needling in the city of Atlanta. It is not special anymore. It's a commodity, right? That is not why people are coming to see you. They're coming to see you for a number of other reasons, that your brand represents and that your people represent and your company represents, that you have to learn how to really, leverage, grow. And it's like learning how to, drive a vehicle. Like if you want to drive a vehicle that's very easy to drive, then that's one set of skill sets. If you want to drive something that's very hard, then it's a different set of skill sets. And you need to understand which one you want. So clarity in your path is going to be important. And either way, if you're looking to continue to grow and give your folks opportunity, you really got to ideally focus on the business and become more and more of a business owner and less of a clinician. I know that's hard for some people. That was actually really hard for me. Whenever I would drop my patient schedule, it's something that you work really hard to get to become good at. And at the same time, like that time you spend with a patient versus that time you could spend really mentoring a staff member to improve what they're doing, or to work with your admin on something, or to improve a system, or to be in the community and driving more, visits into the clinic. Like these are actually like far more sort of dollar productive activities. So you need to make a decision, but either way, it's coming. Corporate cash-based PT clinics and consolidation of those, I think, is right around the corner. Number 3, health is wealth. And it's also probably the greatest wealth generation opportunity for you as a cash-based clinic owner over the next few years. So what do I mean by that? Well, if somebody's worth $1 billion and they're dying of cancer and they only have a year left, I bet they give the vast majority, if not all that money away to get, more time for that disease to go away, right? And people are leaning into health as the new variation of wealth, and they're looking for longevity partners. So this trend is something that, it's not really anything new to people that have kind of been in that space. There's sort of this more performance-based space, but it's becoming very mainstream. So this is what's interesting is there's this sort of like marketing opportunity where somebody has a problem and they're looking for a solution. That is a great place to be, because if you can solve their problem, they know they have a problem, it's much more likely that they're going to come in and work with you. Well, up until now, a lot of people didn't know they had a problem and didn't know that you could help them with it. They didn't know that they should be, working on proactively improving their health. Or maybe they did, but they didn't really realize that there were people out there helping them. Now you see things like Peter Attia on 60 Minutes, right? You hear people talking about sauna and cold plunge and longevity and, VO2, or zone 2 training is just like being thrown around like this is the average person saying these things. You've got 3-hour Huberman Lab podcasts on ADHD and, REM sleep that accountants are listening to. This is not where we were at a decade ago. Me talking to somebody about why they would want to do proactive longevity training was very hard. It was a very hard conversation to have. People were not seeking those folks out. Just look at this. Look at the number of functional med clinics that are popping up around your areas. 10 years ago, me finding a functional med doc to work with was very hard. Now, they're all over the place. And it's not because there's just more functional med doctors. It's because there is a market for it more so now than there ever was, because people want to go and work with somebody proactively, as well as maybe that isn't just prescribing whatever medication they are most incentivized to prescribe. People have a bit more distrust in the medical system, and they are looking for alternative solutions, especially when it comes to being proactive and increasing not just their lifespan, but increasing their quality of life over that time. I think that's actually more important. I think for most people, if you said, okay, you have two choices. You can either live longer, and during that time, you're still going to have whatever normal, decrease in function that you would normally see for anybody that's an aging adult, right? So you get to a certain point where eventually you're going to be very dependent on other people, and it's like seeing somebody age now, right? Or you live the same amount of years as you would live, but you're able to be independent and you're able to do things that you want to do and function at a high level for much, much longer of whatever that time is. Which would you choose? Most people are going to pick, give me the higher functioning, give me the higher quality of life, give me the independence over, an extra 5 years of being dependent and maybe very, very unhappy. And for people, they realize they're going to live longer. It's happening. It's happening with medicine advancements. Not for everybody, but for people that are, that have some amount of disposable income, it's definitely going to happen for them. Proactive, testing to rule out, really nasty systemic diseases, catching things early like cancer. These are all getting better. That means that our life expectancy is probably going to go up. People realize that. And they want to be able to enjoy the world around them with the people that they enjoy being with for as long as they possibly can. Massive growing population of these folks. If you do not have messaging, have an offer, have conversations about this with people that are coming into your clinic, you are missing out on a golden opportunity to work with people for a very long time, to dramatically increase your lifetime value. More importantly, to dramatically increase their quality of life over a very long period of time. This is why we get in the profession. And it just so happens that a business opportunity matches up with a phenomenal opportunity for you as a clinician to really make lifelong changes for people. That is awesome. Keep that in mind. Peter Attia's clinic, 10 Squared, as an example, in Austin, performance-based clinicians that are working with people, tens of thousands of dollars a year to do that. Equinox just came out with a longevity program that combines personal training and programming and blood tests and some massage therapy. It's like $40,000 a year. Now, yes, these are somewhat outliers, but that's where it starts. And as you can figure out more economical ways to work with people, the less elite folks that maybe you work with in your clinic, you're going to be able to create fantastic changes with folks, and for it to really increase the continuity percentage of your business, which really stabilizes it. It also increases your valuation and it increases your profitability. So if you do not know how to work with people long term, well, what a great opportunity for you to lean into being a lifelong learner. If you don't know anything about blood panels, if you don't know anything about longevity testing, if you don't know about VO2 max testing, if you don't know how to test people functionally, if you don't know how to build programs out for people that are going to help them retain strength and mobility, if you don't know how to have conversations about sleep, like these are all things that you can absolutely learn that are not outside your scope of practice by any means. And frankly, I mean, there's people that are less educated that are trainers. They could be fantastic trainers, and they're doing some of these things already. Like we see that. So if you want to fit into this sort of like quarterback of somebody's health and wellness, really be someone who focuses not just on getting them out of pain, but then helping them live a high performance, pain-free life for as long as possible. Like, what a great place to be. Do not miss this trend. This trend is growing more and more each year, and it's something that I really think that if you do not have this as a part of your business where you're having those conversations, well, it's because of one of two things. Maybe you're very, very niche focused, like, I don't know, maybe you do a lot of vestibular work or, I don't know, something that doesn't really line up with people looking for like performance-based work, right? If you're doing general orthopedic, sports medicine, kind of movement-based performance clinics, this is an ideal fit for that. If you're out and you're kind of more an extreme niche or something like outside of that, then maybe it's not the best fit. But that is the vast majority of people that we work with, and probably the vast majority of people that listen to this podcast. So I think it's a fantastic place to be. Great for your business, great for you and your staff to learn going forward. You're going to really be able to help a lot of people, and it's going to make a meaningful difference in your business. So that's number 3. Okay, last one, number 4. So this year I learned that happiness is not tied to winning. And this is a little bit more on the personal side. Like I said, this is the first year where we've actually had a gross revenue drop year over year in any business outside of a pandemic that I've been a part of. I've never had that. Even though it's not a substantial, significant drop, we still didn't hit our goals. And for somebody who's a high achiever, who's very goal oriented, business is one of those things that's a game to me. It's just a game. And it's a fun game to play because in a lot of ways, revenue is a scoreboard, right? So you're either winning or you're losing. Are you achieving the things that you want to achieve? Are you not? It's objective. I like that about it. It's fair as well. If you're better, you're going to have a better business. That's just the way it is. So I would say this year, as far as the scoreboard goes, we lost. Like we didn't win by hitting our goals. So we lost. In previous years, that would have ruined my year. It would have ruined my year for my family and my spouse. It would have stressed me out so bad. And I didn't have that this year. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was frustrated as we were trying to figure out, problem solve, where we missing the mark as we're really correcting things. But I wasn't, and I didn't feel the way that I would have felt if this would have happened even like 5 years ago, maybe even a couple years ago, because this is sort of my approach when I look at these things, right? So, for me, if we don't hit a goal, it ruins my day. Or if I don't achieve something I'm trying to achieve, it ruins my day. That means that it's a loss. That means that I'm a loser, and then I'm a miserable person. And deep down, like, we all have these sort of preconceived notions and constructs that we've developed. And everybody has their own things. That's a silly kind of way to view it, like, just because, you have a multi-million-dollar business that has a fantastic team, great, mission, you get to really help amazing people, and you had a slight drop in revenue, that means you're a loser. Like, that's dumb, right? But it's still a loss, and it could feel that way to some people. And you may feel this way yourself, and it's typically very common in high achievers. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because for a lot of you, you probably listen to this and you are, you may be older than me, maybe younger than me, whatever, but you're probably a little bit behind me as far as your entrepreneurial journey is concerned. So when I share these things, it's because a younger me would have really, really struggled mentally this year. And I didn't. And in fact, I would actually say I'm as happy this year as I've ever been, ever. And what you have to understand is you have to leave work at work, which is a very hard thing to do when you run a business. It's hard to do that. But what I mean by that is you have to disassociate outcomes that you have. And maybe your clinic isn't growing the way that you want. Maybe you've had some staff turnover. Maybe it's been a very hectic year, a very stressful year. And I've had years like this as well. Don't get me wrong. We've had years where we've had a bunch of staff turnover, a bunch of, competition move in, just, a lot of things to deal with that are stressful and negative and getting sucked back into a massive amount of work. And I definitely let my bad days turn into my family's bad night or evening. And it's because I didn't leave it at work. But which option do you think is better, right? Is it that you're so solely fixated on this outcome that you have to get, that if you don't get it, you're a miserable piece of shit? Or you can be incredibly focused on that, and if you don't achieve it, that's fine. You leave it in the business and you go be what your family needs you to be. You go be what your friends need you to be. You go be what your spouse needs you to be. And not drag the frustration that you feel in one domain of your life over into all of the rest of them. And that's something that, whether I wanted to or not this year, I got a great opportunity to work on it. And I'm very thankful that I did. And this is something too, at the end of the year, taking the time to reflect on what you took away from it, what you learned, it's a very useful exercise. And for clinic owners, the end of the year, you're usually not as busy. People are traveling, there's holidays, they're not coming in for as many visits. Like, you can freak out over that, or you can say, what a blessing it is that I get a chance to reflect on my year. Take some time to do that. And not just reflect on the things that didn't go the way that you want. That's usually where we focus. But just reflect on, like, you as a person, your business, the growth that you did see, the amazing things that happened along the way. Like, that is really important. And this year, my perception has changed a lot, right? Where it's like my business goals weren't necessarily achieved, but I was incredibly proud of our team and the effort they put in. I realized I need to be a better leader, especially when it comes to accuracy of decisions and what we're going to focus on. And I'm excited to grow next year in that capacity. It's something that I learned that I get now to work on and move forward with, that as long as I do a good job of focusing on learning the right things, then we're going to generally improve because of that as a business, right? But I'm very grateful for just the year that we had, the things that we got to do, the places we got to go with our staff, the events that we put on. I think these are the best events we've ever put on in the history of PT Biz. And every year they get better, but this year in particular, they were special. I think we did a really, really good job. I think the people that came to those got a lot out of them. They got to expand their network. They got to meet amazing people from all over the country. We changed some people's lives. Like anytime somebody comes up to me and tells me that at an event, it's in a lot of ways, it's shocking. It's just like, whoa, wow. Like you forget what income or what impact you have on other people. You know, it's just like with your patients. Like you're changing their life. I mean, you may be frustrated in business. Maybe you didn't have the year that you wanted. But damn, think about the little miracles that you help people with this year. I promise you, they're out there. You just got to think about them. You got to reframe the way that you're looking at it and not be so hard on yourself, man. Like don't. I guess like think of it as your internal voice. Like we talk about this a lot, right? Like you're going to beat yourself up if you don't achieve a goal. You're going to be really hard on yourself. But like, what would you tell somebody that was a friend? What would you tell somebody that was your kid? You know, we'd just be like, dude, you suck. Like you're bad at this. Like, what are you doing? You don't have any business with this. Why are you, you know, whatever, like be better. You would not talk to somebody you care about that way. Why would you talk to yourself that way? And yet we do it all the time. And it's a very, very negative habit that many of us who are high achievers, who we got that way through a number of different channels, right? Okay, nature, nurture, you're wired that way. Maybe you realized that you got paid attention to more if you achieve something. Maybe you realized that you got picked on less if you achieved something. Maybe you realized that if you worked really hard at things, you were able to get things in life that you wanted, and you didn't want to go back to wherever it was before that, right? I don't know what got you where you're at, but you're obviously trying to achieve a lot in life, for better or worse. You're there. That's the type of person that you are. You just got to give yourself a little bit of freaking, grace when it comes to maybe things aren't going exactly the direction that you want. And this is where this whole concept of gratitude, I think, has been, I don't know, it's all over social media. People talk about this as it's like this, I don't know, man. It seems fake. It seems like people are, saying to focus on be grateful, have gratitude, carry gratitude throughout the day. What the fuck are you talking about? Give me something actionable to talk about. Give me something actionable to think about. And that's where I always struggled with it. But the truth is, when shit sucks or shit's frustrating you, that's the time when you have to think to yourself, what am I grateful for? Because obviously, many things have changed in your life. Just look back over the course of the year. What are you proud of? What happened in your life that was really good? What happened in your life where you learned something? Maybe it came from something you didn't even really want. Gratitude is not something that is just like a blanket, have gratitude for this, this, and this. It's like, no. You have to have the opposite side of that to truly have gratitude for something. It's like you can't know if something's hot if you don't know what something cold feels like. So to truly experience gratitude, you have to be frustrated with something else or experience something that is not uncomfortable for you or painful. That is where you can practice it. That is where you truly, really feel grateful for the things that have happened, right? And, I'll give you a couple of things for me as I was going through this exercise today and just really thinking about my year. And so last year, towards the end of the year, I had knee surgery. It was my second knee surgery on the same knee. I was very frustrated the entire year. Just physically, I couldn't do a lot of things I wanted to do. I tried to avoid surgery as best I could. Eventually got to the point where I couldn't. So I had surgery, and I had a slightly slower response for the amount of work I was putting in pre and post that I would have expected. The healing time took longer, probably took twice as long as I was expecting. And I really wasn't feeling good until probably the summer. And now my knee feels great. And I was able to do some really difficult hikes with my family this summer that I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't had surgery. I would have felt very limited. And I'm grateful for the health that I have now because I feel unrestricted to play basketball with my kids. I can run, further distances now without pain. I can squat again without my knee killing me. I can change direction without it giving way on me. Like all these things you kind of take for granted, but it's like, man, if you want to play basketball with your kids or you want to go and do a workout with your friends and you literally are hurt, like it sucks. And I'm incredibly grateful for the health that I've gained back through, a surgery that I eventually needed and a lot of hard work that I put in to build my joint and the functionality of the area around it back up. This is a year where my wife and I, we've been married for like 18 years, right? But we've been together for about 20, which is a long time. It's a long time to be with anybody. But, to really have somebody that you still thoroughly enjoy being around, who you find funny, who you find attractive, who you enjoy living life with, who is becoming a, more effective parent with you along the way, that's growing as a person, and you get a chance to experience that. Like, you should be very grateful for that. And being able to take a step back and appreciate a relationship like that, it just, honestly, it takes a bit of effort and it takes a bit of patience and time to just appreciate somebody else. And I think our relationship is better now than it's been maybe in our entire, life together. And that's because of a lot of work we put in together. It's work trying to better understand each other. It's work trying to be helpful to the other person as much as you can and make their life better. And respecting the other person and their opinions as well as you continue to grow as people. And that's something that is like a huge win for us this year. So between personal health, relationship health, my family's incredibly healthy. They're doing great in school. They have friends. They're learning things. They're motivated. They're growing as people. I see them making progress in a positive direction every single day. And for many, for many people, they may have a health issue in their family. They may have something unexpected. They may have a death. They may have, significant setbacks. We have none of that. And I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that we are fortunate enough to have a healthy family that is just turning into great little people, great humans, right? That is something that I'm incredibly grateful that my kids, are developing and growing, and they're ambitious, but they're kind, they're smart, and they're healthy. This is fantastic, right? What would I rather have? Would I rather have slightly more business success or a healthy relationship with my spouse and my kids? I take it all day. Not even close. It's not even close. But we forget about that stuff sometimes. We get frustrated when we're not hitting a goal that we've set out for ourselves. So taking a step back and realizing that, it's so helpful. It's so important. The last thing is community. This is a year where I would say Ashley and I have really, developed tighter friendships with people in our community. We feel like we're a bigger part of our community. It's just been very, very enjoyable for us to, grow in that area, because it's not something that we really ever had. Both, military brats growing up, moving a lot. We don't have these deep roots anywhere necessarily. And this is the first place we've ever been where we really feel a part of a group of people that, knows each other well and is there to help each other. And really enjoyable people that I think are fantastic human beings. And I enjoy my kids being around them. And I just love the fact that, we have a community that we've been, blessed to be a part of, that is just continuing to get better and better. And, these are all variables that have nothing to do with business and revenue and profit and KPIs, nothing. And it's important to remember that stuff, because you may have a frustrating year. You may have a great year. You may have an awesome year. But it's still important to remember these other things, because if not, like, business is not just so you can make more money. I think that's what a lot of people think. And that's what I thought. I thought, okay, I'm just doing a business so that I can make more money than I can in the Army, and I can kind of do some stuff the way that I want to do it because I wasn't able to. But business, whether you like it or not, is a journey in personal development. And it is the greatest opportunity to develop as a person. And if you're lucky enough, if you're fortunate enough and you work hard enough, you very well might develop financial and time freedom in conjunction. But don't forget that the byproduct of being able to develop yourself personally is the greatest benefit. And sometimes it's the most painful, uncomfortable aspect of the whole thing. But if you can just understand that and lean into it, it's like, just if you knew something hard was coming up, like if you knew that you had to run a marathon and it's 12 months, it would be a lot easier on you mentally to prep for that, to train for that, than if in 12 months somebody just said, hey, you got to run a marathon today, and you had no idea. Surprise. Like, part of what I share with this stuff is that I want you to understand, like, if you're not where I'm at, like, hopefully this helps you, because if you have to figure all this shit out the hard way, like, like I did, that's okay. I'm still here. I've learned a lot this way, but damn, like running a marathon's hard no matter what. Better to know it's coming than be surprised by it. So I hope that this helps you. My reflection on my year. I try to do this every single year, and it's always different. It's always different every year. But it's a fun exercise for me to do. I highly recommend that you take some time to really, decompress, think about your year. It's a good time to do it. And yeah, I guess last thing, I just want to say, number one, thank you so much for watching and listening to the podcast. I know that this one's pretty long. I try to keep them a little bit shorter for my own lack of attention span, but it's hard to wrap up a year in 20 minutes. So, but I do appreciate it. It always surprises me when people listen and talk to me about the podcast, or I meet them in person and they've been listening to it. It's a one-way channel. I forget, it's not like I can hear anything back, but it's something that I appreciate very much. And, I'll keep putting these out as long as people keep listening, which, we're almost on 900 podcasts at this point. So, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So thank you so much for listening. Hope you had a great year in 2025, and I hope 2026 is even better. Take the time to reflect on it. Take the time to plan. And as always, thanks for listening. Catch you on the next one.